Hey everyone, I'm so glad you're here because today we are diving into a topic that might just change how you see entrepreneurship. So, if you're new here, I'm Aarav, I'm 15 years old, and I go to Woodstock School in the beautiful hills of Mussoorie, India. I've been learning all about entrepreneurship lately, not just the flashy startup stories we see in the media, but the real fundamentals, what it actually takes to build something from scratch, and who actually becomes an entrepreneur, and what stops people from even trying. Today's video is all about a question that seems simple, but actually reveals a lot about how we think. The question is, who can be an entrepreneur? And maybe more importantly, can you be one? Because a lot of us think we already know the answer to this question. We imagine a certain kind of person when we hear the word entrepreneur. So you probably think of someone like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, or Mark Zuckerberg, right? Young, male, genius level tech skills, college dropouts who built something in a garage. And sure, that's one version of the story, but it's far from the only one. So today, we are going to break down the three most common myths people believe about entrepreneurs and why they're totally wrong. Myth number one, entrepreneurs have to be young. So let's start with this idea that you have to start a company when you're in your early 20s or you've missed your shot. This is probably one of the most persistent myths in startup culture. We hear stories like Mark Zuckerberg launching Facebook at 19, Michael Dell starting Dell computers in college, Steve Jobs building Apple when he was barely out of high school. And that's inspiring, for sure. But the media loves these college dropouts make it big kind of stories so much that we forget what's actually happening most of the time. There was a huge study led by Pierre Azoulay and Ziuli, both researchers studying entrepreneurship and innovation. They analyzed thousands of startups and found that the average age of a successful founder isn't 21 or 25 or even 30. It's 42. Yes, 42 years old. And get this, founders who were between the ages of 45 and 52 actually had the highest success rates. Why? Because they've had time to build experience. They probably worked in the industry they're entering. They understand the market better. They have stronger networks, more financial stability, and they've made some mistakes already. So they don't make the same ones again. That doesn't mean you have to wait until your 40s to start something. If you're young and curious, start exploring. But don't feel like your chances disappear as you get older. If anything, your chances actually get better. So whether you're 15 like me or 50, the window is always open. Key takeaway, you don't have to be young to be a successful entrepreneur. Experience often wins over youth. So myth number two that we're going to be busting is entrepreneurs are usually white males. The second myth is a big one, and it's about identity. There's this underlying assumption in society that most entrepreneurs are white men, that the face of innovation is male, American, and likely from a privileged background. And sure, historically that image has been pushed by the media and Silicon Valley, but reality is changing fast. Let's look at some actual numbers according to the US Census Bureau. About 39% of all US businesses are now owned by women. This was mentioned in Wells Fargo 2025 report. Around 38% of non-employer businesses are owned by racial or ethnic minorities. So, something even more exciting. The number of black women entrepreneurs has been growing faster than any other demographic in recent years. So, yes, there are still barriers, especially when it comes to access to funding. Studies show that women and minority founders receive less venture capital on average, even with equally strong business plans. But here's what's encouraging. Once a company does get funded, the success rates are nearly identical, no matter the founder's race or gender. In other words, your background might affect how fast you get in the door, but it doesn't decide how far you can go once you're inside. You don't need to look like Elon Musk to build a company. You don't need to be from California. You don't need to have investors on speed dial. You just need to care about solving a problem and be willing to learn what it takes. Key takeaway, entrepreneurship is for everyone, regardless of gender, race, or background. It's not about who you are, it's about what you build. Myth number three, entrepreneurs need a certain personality. So let's talk about personality. A lot of people think entrepreneurs are born a certain way, like they're naturally charismatic, extroverted, fearless, and full of energy. The kind of person who walks into a room and starts pitching $1 million idea without breaking a sweat. But here's the truth, that's a myth. A pretty dangerous one, too. Yes, some entrepreneurs fit that profile, but tons don't. In fact, research shows that no single personality type guarantees entrepreneurial success. Some founders are loud, some are quiet, some are analytical, some are gut driven, some love the spotlight, others avoid it completely. So, what traits do matter? Here's what studies suggest: passion helps, but it's not enough. People say follow your passion, but passion doesn't build a business. Grit, resilience, and problem solving do. Number two, confidence matters, but overconfidence can backfire. Some founders are naturally confident, and that helps them convince others. But blind overconfidence without testing ideas, that's a fast road to failure. Number three, the one trait that stands out the most is this. It's called the locus of control. That's just a fancy psychology term for how much you believe you control your own outcomes. If you have an internal locus of control, you believe that your actions, your effort, your learning, your decisions can shape your success. And that mindset is powerful. People with a strong internal locus of control are more likely to take ownership, to say, if this fails, it's on me, and if it works, it's because I made it work. That's the kind of belief that pushes entrepreneurs to try, fail, and try again. So, no, you don't need to be some high energy, extroverted genius to be an entrepreneur. You can be thoughtful, quiet, analytical, empathetic. In fact, those traits are often huge advantages when it comes to understanding user needs or building a great team. Here's something else you think about. A lot of successful entrepreneurs weren't the type at all. They were people who got curious about a problem and then couldn't stop thinking about how to fix it. They weren't born into entrepreneurs, they became entrepreneurs. Key takeaway: there's no perfect personality for being an entrepreneur. The only thing you really need is a mindset that says, I can learn, I can try, I can build. So let's recap. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be a white or a male. You don't have to fit some magic personality mold. If you've ever seen a problem and thought, there's got to be a better way, congrats. You're already thinking like an entrepreneur. It's not about fitting in, it's about creating something that matters. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or even just thought provoking, hit that like button and subscribe. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Real talk about startups, creativity, and what it takes to build something from scratch, especially as a student. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.